everybody. Today we are going to be talking more about this convergence. It's Jennifer and myself talking further, carrying this discussion we've had in the last few videos in showing how this converging of our aspects of our parts of us, of the alignment within ourselves, is happening in the collective. We launch into a conversation that is really markedly showing us how this is happening in the collective of humankind, this convergence that we've talked about within the individual, and then we've also talked about how it's coming together in the collective. Now, through the individual, as we've talked previously, it's about your soul fragments coming back in. It's about past lives reintegrating with ourselves. But today we're going to hit on the balances of feminine, masculine energy. And we get into some really interesting discussions. So we talk about feminine, masculine from the perspective of really how that's been constructed in humankind for the most part, roles essentially. And then we're talking about how the divine masculine, divine feminine, what they mean and how they are integrating as well. This is all about integrating into the wholeness of us. And today we hit on a different piece of that. So stick with us on this, because this is actually another component of the conversations we've had previously with respect to this integration that is happening with us now. This wholeness that we are experiencing, or what I will say is the balancing act I just heard. It's the balancing act to create that fullness of who we are. And we're going to talk about some really big examples that are happening in the collective right now. So I have some notes. I'm just going to cover that real quickly. So the main topic is that convergence component, the aspects bringing ourselves into alignment, all right? But how we are actually coming into balance with parts of ourself. All right, and then that exudes out into the collective. So we're going to hit on divine feminine, divine masculine, masculine feminine in general. It's a really interesting discussion. So remember, too, this weekend, this is a big part of why this is continuing to happen in spades, and we're starting to feel this because this is a gateway energy that's happening this week. It actually started sometime around Thursday, Friday. It's moving us into the full moon, which I believe is on Wednesday. We have, as you know, we have this gateway, which I haven't talked a lot about, but it really is alluded to in my February energy update. From the 2nd to the 22nd, there's, oh gosh, whoa, do I have chills. Okay, massive amounts of, they just said gateway energy. Okay, they just said launching us into the next dimension of our journey. Okay, oh, they just said riding the wave. Yep, okay, so this is continuing to help us ride that wave. So we got a bump this weekend, or we're getting a bump this weekend, and then we have our full moon showing up as well, and we're heading into, you know, kind of the rest of February with those additional energies coming in for that gateway experience in February. This is all about growing further into unconditional love. And what they say in here is they call it the love quotient. So it's fascinating, because ultimately this is what it's about, all right? It's about finding the love within ourselves and then finding the love for others as a collective, which then shifts and changes us fully into another frequency, higher vibration, and ultimately creating, manifesting out of that love for ourselves and for the collective, a completely new way of living, all right? So that's where we're transforming now. And we're getting a huge bump in February to assist us forward in the balancing act. Okay, so we're really talking about the balancing act right now, and you're going to understand more of what we're talking about as we get going. It's I think a really interesting conversation that Jennifer and I have. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Balance. Oh, what they did say was the imbalances are balancing. Okay, so remember that the imbalances are balancing. Now that doesn't mean it's going to feel super great. It depends on where you're at in your journey and what you've turned a blind eye to and what you've paid attention to. But the balances are balancing. Okay, that's really what this is about. The love quotient and how this is also manifesting itself in the collective. So I hope you enjoy this today. I'm Carolyn. I'm a channel. I'm a distance energy healer, and I'm a spiritual awakening mentor. And I offer these channeled conversations as well as messages from the light keepers to help you along your awakening and ascension journey. Like I always say, hopefully there are a few things that resonate that you can take along in your own journey and use them moving forward. And as I always say, then toss the rest aside if it doesn't feel right for you, right? Because we're all collecting pieces of the puzzle to put together for our own journey forward. So I hope you find some of this helpful today and that you enjoy our conversation. You can check out all of my services on purplerainhealing.com, where I channel in all of my services to assist you forward in your journey. And we get to know each other, and it is a lot of fun, and it assists you forward and gives you so much information regardless of what session you choose. So check it out, purplerainhealing.com. And now we're going to get into our conversation. Enjoy it, and I will talk to you in the end. Yeah. So I'm wondering, given what you've experienced just in the last night and this talking about the masculine, feminine energy, would that be an interesting conversation to have of what's happening now? I don't know.
I think we could definitely start there and go from there.
Is that part of this convergence? So we've talked about this converging of our
very important part too.
Right. And we've talked about this convergence of us individually, of our lives coming back. We've talked about aspects, soul fragments. We haven't talked a lot about the divine masculine, feminine, and how that's playing into all this. But what I'm getting, what we talked earlier before we started recording, okay, so I'm just going to go with this and maybe let's launch this off, this is, like you said, with the salt water and the fresh water, it's like creating a clash. It's almost like the same idea of the old Pisces. Well, no, that's not true. It's not old Pisces energy, old Aquarian age. That's different. That's cosmic, but the divine feminine and masculine, that makes us whole.
Yes.
That's two energies that we all have. Oh, and what feels like is happening is the struggle in each of us is because of what I'm hearing is because of the imbalance in one or the other in each of us. And so does that yes. resonate with you? So when we talk about these huge events that we see, these energetic things happening, everybody usually thinks, oh God, something huge is going to happen on Earth. Well, yeah, we have a lot of things happening. But what I'm picking up on this one is every single person is going to get called to, oh, I just heard to connect in with now they're saying weaker side, or like it's going to show up and it's going to go, hello. Does that make sense to you?
Totally. Yes, it is.
I just heard the words earthquake. Now remember, I'm not going literal. We know we have earthquakes all the time, but earthquake within the self. I'm getting very individual again. Are you?
Well, yes, I think so. It's funny, they say weaker side, and I actually have a weaker side of my body.
Oh, we all kind of do. Oh,
have you noticed with your clients? They're all saying one of my sides is a little bit.
Well, no.
Not as
well, but think about it as
just actually manifesting in the physical body. I have a weaker. One of the sides feels weaker than the other. I don't know if you noticed this.
Well,
many of my friends are telling me the same thing. I'm like, oh my God, for me, it's my left.
But that's true in general with humans? We're either right-handed or left-handed, or we're, like when you go to start to walk or do like an activity, physical activity.
Oh yeah, just typically. Yeah, sure. Like dominant on one or the other. Yes, right. Well, maybe that is part of that, actually.
I'm getting it's linked.
Interesting, huh? Yeah.
Okay, I just heard the words blending into the one. Okay, this is a big deal. I think this is what is coming now. I just heard it's going to rock your world.
That's what I'm telling you. They're telling us this. And I don't know. I mean, maybe it's like, oh, we didn't want to tell you, but I'm really getting the feeling like it's almost for those of us that can kind of foresee, and I'm not saying I'm necessarily one of those, but it's almost unfolding. And the ones that are seeing it are like, this is even more than we even imagined, right? We didn't even realize it was going to be this much or this fabulous or this whatever. Or it was almost like, it's like Elvis came back in, right? This is what they say. Elvis left the building. Well, it's like Elvis just walked back in, right?
Yes.
Like that. Right?
Okay, I just got that links to what you're saying. Coming into your divinity on steroids. Okay. So our divinity is the balance. Remember, we've talked about the balances. You can't have masculine here, heavy, holding the feminine down. The feminine's just, it's coming into balance. And that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And in doing that, they just said again, it rocks your world. Because if you think about it, in the expression of an individual human, we have either or more showing the masculine or showing the feminine or suppressing one or the other. I'm getting a lot of voice chakra for females who have not embraced their masculine.
You saying this, my throat's getting tight. And I was going, who's doing that? Who? Because somebody, whenever I get that, I'm like, somebody's trying to speak through me. And you said throat chakra, and mine was like getting to exactly what you're talking about. It's so crazy. Yes.
Oh my God. And then they're talking about the masculine. They're even giving it being a bigger struggle of I just heard soft heart, to have the expression of the soft heart, to be able to be vulnerable enough to have the soft heart, to express that out, to connect into that feminine side. And the stronger they just said polarization is,
yes,
the more difficult that journey is to the convergence of the two. And they keep showing me the water. And we're in that state, like you just said, when the waterways come together, it's kind of like, Yeah.
And they both seem to be flowing fast. I don't know if you've ever seen this, and like where this phenomena actually happens on our planet, where the two are hitting each other, right?
Yeah.
Because the way that the system works is it's pulled out of like the ocean and goes through precipitation through the Amazon, right? And then it eventually comes back into, so the salt is not the same. It's fresh and salt. So there's places on the planet where you can see them bumping each other, and it actually looks like a line drawn down the water. They're different color sides. So, and that's what they're showing me. And they're both kind of flowing, and they're both doing this, but they're right next to each other, and they're not quite, they're still holding their own. But I said something yesterday we were talking about something similar to this, where I was saying something about masculine. And it was an interesting way that especially just as you see it playing out in like human males, for instance, there is a fear, almost a fear of the feminine, and something like they see the feminine, they recognize power, and they don't understand it.
Yep.
So there is like, you always hear this, like in any family, no matter how dominant the woman acts or how dominant the man is, when do you ever know, when you ask somebody, hey, do you guys want to come over, do this, or do you want to go? What do they always say? We have to go ask mom, right?
Yes.
Always. No matter if she could be the most chill, calm, cool, quiet, doesn't matter. They'll always say that.
Yep.
And I think that it's that kind of recognition of it, but they're not really sure why. They just know that that's the way it is. I need to check with mom, right?
Yes.
It's not because mom's asserted any kind of like the rules are, you check. It's almost, I need to check with home.
I just heard it's innate. It's innate.
Yes. And it's that kind of power, in a sense, that it's not like a power over, but it is it's just the stability of like your home energy. It's like what makes it possible. It's like the foundational energy that makes it possible for people to express and be and have even their own self-confidence. Is almost like this home base energy, right?
Yep.
So I think with a lot of males, the bravado that comes through them that makes them feel like they're in control or have power is conflicting with that power that they feel coming from the feminine that they don't understand. It's like mysterious almost.
Yes. And I'm also, yep. And I want to keep talking about that. I just want to share what I'm getting. And what I'm also getting is males are becoming exhausted. There's a tired feeling coming from them, from having to always have been, depending on how far they are, in that, I'll just say, more toxic masculine, just the way it has been, the old patriarchy, the ego, all of that, right? The being the strong guy. Mm-hmm. I'm getting okay, I'm feeling it in my body. It's almost as though they are becoming, or they, they just said downsized. So like in that sense of suppressing that piece of them. And they're so exhausted that, okay, they're just saying what that does is that brings that energy, that old patriarchy energy down, that old male dominated energy of the ego. It brings it down to a place where the feminine energy can then infiltrate and join in. That's just what they're showing me now. Join into to strengthen the masculine, but in a way that brings in the feminine. Okay, I don't know if that's making any sense to you, but I'm seeing this. It's like this old way of behaving no longer exists. They're getting exhausted. As they get exhausted, it's a different energy. Think about exhaustion. It's a softer energy because you don't have the energy, right? So it's a different energy that comes down into a frequency that allows the divine feminine energy to then, they're showing this. Does that resonate?
You know, it's funny because, not funny, but what you're saying is because a lot of the energies in this last couple of years have felt like it's just like beating you down.
Oh God, right? Yes.
And I think it's almost like what they're saying, even though it didn't feel awesome, it's almost like we're beating that bravado, we're beating that ego down so you will just freaking surrender.
Yes.
Because when you drop that, right, and allow, it's like that, like when I'm talking about that energy, it's so empowering, but it has been distorted in a way to feel weak to the ego.
Yes.
Right. So they're afraid to be in it. I don't know. It's interesting because the feminine energy, it's not like a soft, weak energy. It's freaking amazing, strong, powerful, and empowering, right?
It's soft, beautiful, but in a powerful way that we've not seen before.
Yes.
And what I am getting, maybe this seems obvious, but I want to make sure I articulate this, is just because like you and I are both females, could be very different. We could be extremely operating in the masculine.
Yes.
We're having to integrate our feminine, which is kind of nice.
Haven't you felt exhausted some of the time with some of the energies that have been coming through us?
Yes.
Haven't you this last couple of years felt like I'm exhausted? I feel like that's been more of my turbulent kind of fighty energy that comes through me sometimes, where I get kind of in that stirred up conflict way, not it's so much in my feminine. I feel like that is the masculine energy. And I'm not, maybe a lot of us that have been uber feminine have feel it. We're like, what's going on? I hate this. I think just the male energy that's coming through that we're not used to, right?
So in that case, a woman, like maybe in your case, you're integrating more of your masculine, and that feels a little odd. Me, on the other hand, I know I'm integrating more of the feminine side because I have a tendency I'm pretty well balanced, but I have a tendency to operate more in a masculine mode. And so it doesn't matter what sex you are, or how do you define yourself as gender. It doesn't, in fact, that's what's interesting about gender neutrality, right? It doesn't matter. We still have feminine, masculine that blends into that, into that wholeness of us. Do you know what I'm saying?
Totally. Yes.
And so everybody's having that happen. And I think this is what's happening right now, because we know, as I'd mentioned earlier, before I think we started recording, this weekend, and I don't know, I may have to post this earlier, like next week, midweek, so that it's relevant, but I know this weekend, which is actually starts tomorrow, the 11th of February, and then we have full moon. This is a big time of, they just said transition, but again, kind of the on steroids idea. I think this is what we're talking about here. These energies coming together, the feminine, divine masculine too. And here's the thing, there's masculine, feminine, but it's not necessarily divine masculine, feminine that we're displaying. Does that make sense? So this ups the ante on both sides. The how do you present your feminine side? Or your divine feminine? How do you present your masculine side? You know what I'm saying? It's the divine part that's also coming into existence in addition to the balances. Does that resonate?
It does, yes, because it's there are different energies, and I could feel the difference, like the underlying current of
Yes.
Of each. And there's like different. I told you this a long time ago, actually. I remember I told you I had like these huge energies that I was like running into somewhere,
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And they just felt like something I didn't necessarily have experienced before. And I told you there was 3 very distinctly different from each other. And then when I would see or feel these, I saw those 3 big like circles and how those circles converge, and it makes that like Vesica Pisces or some.
Yeah.
They were showing me that like there is eclectic energies, like very different energies coming, all of it beautiful, but coming together, and you can feel the difference between like what we consider divine and some of these others, although they're all amazing, right? I'm not saying like better than the other. They're all very incredible.
But here's the thing. Here's what I'm getting to is our typical human understanding of what is masculine and feminine. That's not the divine part. You know what I mean? There's the addition of the divine part that we, as we awaken, start to feel and understand. It's underlying it is what they're saying is unconditional love, is the love component that embodies both of those energies. But the human masculine, feminine, it kind of doesn't have the word divine in it, right? All to some degree or another, we may embody that on a daily basis, but in general, humans haven't done that. So it's up in the ante to bring in the divinity side of that, which ultimately is they just said the love quotient.
Well, I was just going to ask you that because I'm sitting here thinking, like, I wonder how do you, I was going to ask you, what do you define divine as meaning?
Okay. Yeah. In fact, they were just kind of getting there to that. So okay. I'm going to try to use an example. Okay, we're going to just use masculine as the example. Yeah. The masculine human, tough guy, doesn't have any show emotion. I mean, remember, this is the human constructed masculine, right? Doesn't have emotion, is in control, has the power source, in many ways is the ruler of the roost, even though we go to mom at times, but still is the breadwinner. I mean, that's been traditional, right? Is the one that, the will fight, for, but it's not based in the love vibration. Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not based on love vibrations. When you add they keep calling it the love quotient. I don't know. When you add the love quotient to it, I'll just use their words. It changes everything because it changes everything, but then it also has to come in with the feminine. So the feminine isn't the divine feminine isn't the only one that has the love, the unconditional love, all that. The divine masculine has it too. So what's happening in each circumstance, what I'm getting is it's not just a blending of, my feminine, I need more of my feminine to come into power or my masculine come over. It's about bringing in the divine part of that, which is what the awakening does, which starts helping you open up your heart chakra to everyone, to the unconditional side of that. Does that make sense?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Okay.
Because I was always saying divine, but what does divine mean? Because a lot of us associate, especially if we were raised in a kind of Christian or whatever, divine means something very tied into religion. And I'm like, I'm not sure where the origin of that word came from or what exactly that is different from another, know what I mean? So I kind of thought, what does that mean now?
Divine, and I think that can get confusing. I think when we talk about, this is what's always bothered me about using the term spiritual awakening, because the first thing that happens is a lot of people think it's a religion or spirituality is a religion. No, because it's been used in that way. And same with the word divine, right? We don't understand what it means.
I heard, what did I hear? Something about divine means like from the vine, like grapes on a vine, I think that meant like divine, and like there is an energy that represents the vine and the fruit coming off of the vine. But I'm not sure See, that's what I'm saying is like, for instance, like we have these very distinct energies, like Christ consciousness energy. That energy feels very distinct from other energies, right? So I was just like, as far as like, like I said, again, not one better than the other. I just want to understand kind of the origin of the energy. I can definitely tell you that the feel is different, but I don't know what
I just heard the words. Yep, I've got to interrupt. I just heard the words, the God spark. They're tying it to the God spark. They're tying it. And they said to me just now, as you were talking, awakening presents the divinity to us. So we have to almost, okay, hold on. Do we have to go? Yes, they're alluding to the fact we have to go through the awakening ascension part of this to be able to allow the divine component to join in with us. It can't come just from the human experience. Does that resonate?
Yes, I think so. I always feel like it's it's like there. I've always thought of it like, okay, God, the divine, the energies are always a part of us. They're always within us. They're always, we can't be separate from them necessarily. But the waking up process allows us to find it.
Yeah, exactly. And the energies outside of us will support us in coming into that. So yes, you make a really good point. It's within us, but it's been suppressed for so long, right? So now we have to bring it back through the awakening journey and the work that we do.
Yes. And I think that we can become more open to having a larger amount, you know what I mean? But having it as larger, like they're saying, love quotient, a larger quotient of our total energetic by how we change our consciousness or awareness or desire to have that as more of a part of our being. So I don't, not that I'm always trying to categorize and separate so I can understand, but at the end of the day, I take all that and I put it all back together anyway. But I tend to do that, right? Take it all out so I can see it all. Yeah. Put it all back together like it's, Yes. That's an interesting concept. But that, I've felt and I've seen so many different energies that are so beautiful, so brilliant, and so amazing. But there is something that feels different about the divine, feels different than some of these other ones, right? But the other ones are super beautiful too. But so I was trying to kind of get a feel for it. But it does feel definitely like a love, like the energy comes in, your heart opens and you want to start crying, right? It's just so like that, right? So
exactly. Well, and as an example, so my divine feminine is in spades in the last couple of weeks, integrating more with me, so I'm more aware of it, and it's shifting and changing in how I feel about myself. I'll just use, I'm not going to go into detail, but my personal example in that, oh, wait a minute, now I feel more of an equal. Now I don't feel unworthy. Now I don't feel like I have to be the one to do everything right, and I'm doing it wrong, and that whole thing of where women serve the man kind of thing. I mean, the old antiquated thing, right? So my divine feminine is coming in not just because of I tend to be more masculine, but the feminine is coming in because I also have a part of me in my human that is, okay, they just said the word, just say it, subservient, feels subservient to like the relationship when you're in one, as an example. That's a good example, right? Of like, I want to keep doing, I want to keep giving, so you overdo it all, right? And so I have a real interesting journey going on right now with my divine feminine joining me in, to the point where it's actually elevating me. Okay. Even though I have a strong masculine, it's not about coming in and being the masculine. It's about taking my femininity, my feminine, and being equal to my male counterpart. All right. And feeling like, wait a minute. I don't have to serve. And I'm not saying that shows up in action, but serve or feel like I'm the lowly one, or I'm the one or I don't need to put that individual on a pedestal all the time, that I have a tendency to do. So, and then you could argue all day long, go back to your childhood and figure out why that happened. This is all that happens so we can see the spiritual part of that and bring back in alignment are divine masculine, divine feminine. So I don't go back to, and yes, it's great to study that and understand it, but I think it's more for understanding like, oh, I grew up this way, so blah. But that's the catalyst for this to happen now in this awakening journey. So does that make sense?
Yes, totally. And, you know, we talk about this now being the observer of yourself, right? But you've been observing your whole life, right? This is what you've been doing. Your experiences, even though you don't, maybe don't realize, if you look in retrospect, you might realize it, but you've been an observer. You've been here observing all of this the whole time. All of your body, your brain, your subconscious has been recording everything.
Yes, even if it's not conscious. Like some of us are conscious of that, right? Some of us are great observers and take detailed notes, right, of ourselves. Right. Others, to your point, it's all happening though.
Yeah, but it's all being input, because you are, like you said, kind of here to see what that looks like, what that feels like.
Yep.
And then transform it, basically, right?
Exactly.
Balance it.
Exactly.
So I feel like that's really what we're doing. And I told you about this one time. I had a meditative thing where I was in this very beautiful energy. And I told you, this is what I'm talking about. It didn't feel like I had left all darkness, and I was in this ultra high love and light realm where there was nothing like, I felt like everything in existence that is possible was there, but in perfect balance. Yeah. It wasn't like, okay, there was no any kind of feeling of like, it was just like, oh, angels singing love and light, and that's all I was. And it was everything that's possible. I did not feel like there was anything excluded, right? Nothing was excluded. It was all there. So it was very rich, very full, very complete, very infinite, but it was perfectly balanced. So it was amazing, like the expansiveness of that feeling. Because a lot of times I think the more, a lot of people think of the love and light, it's just like getting away from and suppressing the and getting into this just perfect bliss kind of, it's almost like a cognitive dissonance of being in the bubble of love and light. And that's actually not, because you've been here, like I said, you had all these experiences, you've been observing your whole life, everything you've done. Doesn't mean that you want to sit in one of those energies, but it's all there. You also don't throw it in the trash. You want it to become a part of the weave, right? Of the whole thing.
They just said to me, you've been studying yourself your whole lifetime. And so, and what I'm getting as you're talking is, wow, depending upon how aware you are of that studying. I mean, because we can humanly, consciously study ourselves and learn and grow and work on our stuff. Depending on how aware we are, they said that recording is always going on. If we're either aware or not aware, that's how massive a journey we're going to have of waking up. Because think about it, if the human is totally unaware, but it's all being recorded, which we know it is, right? Then that's all going to show up. Like, oh, let's play this recording. How much of the movie do you know? Right.
Right.
Do you have you consciously thought about?
Mm-hmm.
And some of us are going to have an easier time because we have done, well, I don't want to say easier, but you know what I'm saying? A more fluid, would say approach to it, because we have been more aware of the recording aspect.
We might say like some people are more self-reflective, introspective words. Okay. Some are totally the opposite, have none.
And so
now that they're having to look in, right?
Totally. It's all, yes, exactly.
Have been doing this all along because it's kind of like built into your character, right?
Right.
It might not be so difficult to wake up and get a lot more of it, right?
So completely. It would be interesting. I wonder, I'm just going to put this out to the people that are end up watching this video, is what their experiences have been lately of, like we just used our examples of how we feel our energies, our divine masculine, divine feminine, how we feel or know something shifting, and what their experiences have been with that. It'd be interesting to see in the comments. So we'll just put that out there if people want to share. Mm-hmm.
It's quite something. It's a lot of dynamics that are coming together in this. And it's hard for us not to put a gender on it.
Yeah,
even
no,
though we both have both of them.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I can feel it though. I can feel the kind of, I always feel
Oh, you
like
know what I just get? You know what I just got? I just
Wow.
got, oh, sorry, I just interrupted. No, I
no,
just,
you're
that's sorry.
okay.
I just, and I'm probably going to use the wrong term, so I'm just going to say that right now. So what I'm hearing is gender nonconforming. Wow, what they're giving me. Oh, this is so cool. There's an easier there's a reason for this. Okay, it's not just biological in the human part. Gender nonconforming allows this. Okay, they just said the toxic side of both masculine and feminine to be less of it's more the oneness, and so there's an allowance more for or more of an opportunity not have to deal with all of that. Does that make sense? So if you don't take on a role, right, in society, you say I have to act like a man. If you're not taking that on, and you're fluid with that.
Yeah.
But they're saying, I have so many chills on this. That actually, okay, they just said counterbalances. Does that make sense? They just used the word counterbalances. And it's going to allow a greater connection into the divine feminine masculine, because you don't have to, they just said override the old stereotypical male female roles. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally. Yes.
Whoa, that is so awesome. I love this, how that's like, how we can connect that to the awakening and ascension.
Oh yeah. Yes, that's so true. I mean, my goodness, you think about everything that's tied. There's so much. Oh my God, there's so much tied to that.
Now, what they just said is, however, in that situation, those who are not taking on the role of male, female, right? They're having, and they're actually doing a pretty good job of this. They're saying they're having the struggles in the human, right? They're having, it's less of the energetics part of this, of the awakening part. It's in the human, they have to deal with the public who, is saying, they can come up against discrimination, all of that. But what I'm getting right now is I am getting like massive applause. Oh, I have so many chills. Massive applause because there's just been huge progress. And it's also part of why they came in now to play the role they're playing, which is neither, and being able to say, I mean, because they're breaking through faster, but they're having to deal with the walls that come with it, in society. But what they're also saying is, I mean, look how fast it's changed, right?
Yes.
So fast.
Oh my God.
I mean, 10 years ago, we weren't talking about all that, right? And all the different roles.
It's amazing how we're doing this too. Like they came in to raise, like they're raising awareness. They're making people think about things differently, see things differently, kind of let go of some of the super rigid stuff.
Totally.
And then, but also it's happening on an energetic level for us. So you think about the chicken or the egg, a lot of the stuff we're watching it here, but a lot of times, but the energetic that's happening is what manifests on the earth plane. So they are acting the role out of what's going on energetically, that if you're kind of tuned into yourself and your greater being, you can feel that thing happening too, right?
Yes.
It's a salt water and fresh water trying to come together. Kind of
we're all getting to it. This is interesting. We're all getting to it in a different way. But it's like I know this isn't going to sound right. It's like a shortcut. If like there's an advantage when we talk about spirituality and unconditional love and going to that place of the beautiful divine feminine, divine masculine combining into the oneness. They've actually they're calling it a shortcut. It's not a shortcut in their human life necessarily, but it's a shortcut with respect to the spiritual component of the energetic component to take us to, because the goal here is ultimately that unconditional love, to know that, well, and then you could start talking about, LGBTQ and all of that, and that it's just about who you love. And so you see how this is happening. So it's about unconditional love. It doesn't matter. It's love. It's love. And then you got the energetic component of divine feminine, divine masculine coming in, blending in. And so they're kind of cute. They're like, well, they're taking a shortcut. I mean,
well, that's just kind of like what you just said, LG, all the different, like we want to pull everything apart and label it, but at the end of the day, it all just kind of goes right back together, right?
Which is really what is happening. Yes. So yes. So there's an important reason for the labels to happen. Like when keep using LGBTQ, and you can name a gazillion other different labels. But point is there's a reason for that right now. So that, okay, so I just heard the words loud and clear. So we can be loud and clear about, they just said what is, okay. But then the representation of that comes through the shift and change in all of those individuals who are actually going, playing that role in this human journey.
I wonder if kind of the way that we embodied, for instance, or the way that we energetically embodied in this particular, if you want to call it experiment era, whatever we're in right now, however you want to call it, if we did it like the separation where they show, like even some are like you've seen the drawings, like the person with the masculine and the feminine, the steam down the brain, I've even been shown has something to do with the separation of the two, right?
Okay.
Yeah, separating your masculine from your feminine. Or I'm wondering if that is, and instead as opposed to more of a unity. Okay, so like we're in more of a yin and yang, masculine, feminine, balancing two very, very different energies, where unity is it's all one, right? There's no difference. So it's more of a dual. Yin and yang is more of a duality.
Yeah, it is.
The other is all blended together. Now I'm thinking, I could see us wanting to see what that would look like, right? What would it look like to divide these two and have them, have a person and even separate people interplaying with each other? And so I'm wondering if it was part of a kind of experiment. We wanted to see how that would work in relationships. I'm curious to know if that was on purpose or not. I'm always like, did we do that on purpose, or was that a mistake?
You mean as far as the duality side of that?
Yeah, like just, as creator beings, seeing how we're going to set up the energetic for our embodiment. And we set up the energetic here as having the masculine and feminine kind of separated from themselves, and where I'm wondering if that was.
It was. That's what I'm getting.
To maybe like really enhance, like really bulk up both of them in separation to try and then try to. I don't know.
So it's about what I'm getting is it's about experience, but the duality part. The reason we have the two types, again, we have the yin and the yang, is it's all about then coming back into the oneness. So what we got is examples of the oneness already are showing up in humankind now. The LGBTQ community, but the non-binary, with the what did I say earlier? It flew out of my mouth. Gender non-conforming. So it's, and again, but what they're saying to me is that's part of this coming into the oneness of it. So we had the duality, we had our experiences of male, female, we'll still continue to have those. I'm not getting that's ending necessarily anytime soon, but we have now the understanding that we're just, it's the oneness of us. So that's allowing them to come in to the oneness of themselves more, to lead the way. They're leading the way to the unconditional love component of that. All right. Now everybody still has their own journey in masculine, feminine. Are they still displaying themselves from a place of old toxic masculinity, femininity? You can still have that. But the point is it's oneness. It's all coming back into the oneness of us without that duality.
Well, you notice that
without having to have the duality, I would say.
Yes. Well, they're very nonconformist in something that's very specific, but I believe that plays out probably in most other areas of their life too, right? I don't think it's just about the gender, but I think that I don't think you would catch anybody, and most of these people would not be participating in anything that's highly patriarchal either, right?
Right.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Right.
And a lot of these kids I've noticed too are, when they do these surveys with the younger groups, like college age kids, many of them are atheist. They don't have any religion.
Yes. And so you can see where that's going. I mean, it makes so much sense that we start from a place of, well, it's breaking down the constructs, right, that we've created. So when you are atheist and or agnostic, but I think atheist primarily, then, I mean, you come from a place of just rebuilding completely, right?
Yeah. And, being your own, I think. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the terms, but I'm trying to, it's not that I don't believe there is one. They're not oriented at church.
It's new for a lot of us. I mean, it's new. I mean, it's what is so cool is it's happened so fast, right?
Yes.
It's so cool. And you see that this is planned. This is planned. Didn't just, I mean, this was, I mean, and when I talk planned, I'm talking spiritually planned. Okay. This is all energetically, spiritually planned to come into human form to knock us on our heads and say, wake up, people, because it's all about love and we are playing a role here. And I love the idea of being able to, that integration of feminine, masculine, it actually sets a platform that is much easier for those energies to integrate.
I think so. Agreed.
Because you're not taking on those old toxic human roles of I have to be this way or that way.
Let me tell you, in some cases, in a lot probably, especially in our older community, it was a concept they hadn't even dreamt of. Right? They didn't even. They're just say they're what now? They were just like they hadn't even.
Yeah. And ever, we know that people were feeling that way. They just weren't. But now, fortunately, just the idea of it had to be introduced into the collective consciousness. You know what I'm saying? There's some that didn't even. It never even crossed their mind. Never would have. Right. Yep. But boy, I'm telling you, the community is getting a huge applause. Because it's happened so fast and it's so awesome and it's totally a part of ascension. Totally. Wow. This really went in a different direction. I know. But it didn't go in a different direction. It's all tied. That's the thing. That's the cool thing. Yes. It's all. These are like all the little representations of how these energies that we're talking about are manifesting out in things that we're seeing in our social and, our social economic and environments. Yes, absolutely. And it all goes to, ultimately, we go back to what we've been talking about forever, is creating the oneness within ourselves individually, and then the oneness within the collective. And so we don't have that feeling of duality anymore. However, that combines into us to create the new you. Do you know what I mean?
All right. So let me tell you just like a little quick epiphany that I had here while we were talking. Okay. So, we're talking about how things are manifesting out, and I'm like on a personal level, but I know this is happening. I think quite a bit across the board. I'm hearing that relationships are ending, like business partnerships, or even their own like small businesses. Things are like coming to an abrupt end, or people are, maybe somebody that's been in their life for a long time. It's just something happens and they're just not getting along, or they just stop talking, like friendships or things. And I was thinking about this morning about how it's interesting, like, why does that happen? And I think that, there's a couple of things that, like, even if you're aware that they're just acting out some kind of their own insecurity, and you allow it to happen while they're doing it because you're aware that's what they're doing. And you just, like, for me, I would just choose to focus on their qualities, right? I feel like there's some kind of a component of that, is that even though I am being tolerant of them or being understanding, or it's actually a form of not loving myself to allow that energy to continue to play while I listen to it. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's almost, and so I thought, that might be some of the things, like we're being guided away from some of these energies that don't feel right, because, and some of it, like I was thinking about one that's kind of happening a little bit in my field right now too, about somebody who's always got saying one thing, but maybe in the background doing something else, right? And putting false faces forward, right? This is our biggest liar right here. And I was thinking, okay, that's something that's getting torn apart too.
Oh yeah.
Energy doesn't lie.
No.
That we've gotten really good at making this part of us lie.
And I'm hearing the words being found out.
Let me tell you, the biggest one for me personally was my son. Okay. Nonverbal on the spectrum, right? Now you think about, I don't know how much you know about spectrum kids, but many of them do not like to make eye contact. And they also say they really have no idea what facial expressions mean.
Right.
And the more I'm getting through this, and the more I'm understanding, he's telling me, I'm beginning to believe they see the face with a big smile on it, but they feel your energy. She's mad at the neighbor because the dog pooped on our lawn, or she's thinking about running over her, in her energy.
You know what I just heard?
Depressed, sad, but her face has a big smile. It's not that they don't understand. It's not that they can't figure it out. They can't figure us out. Oh, a smile means you're depressed, angry, and having homicidal tendencies toward the neighbor.
You know what I just heard? I just heard they know the truth of the lie.
And so they find our face confusing because we walk around with each other with such a false, right? Totally. We put on this, and we do it for a multitude of reasons, right? Our image, not wanting to upset another. And the funny thing is, sometimes we don't want to upset another, but a lot of us don't realize that's the empath in you that doesn't want to feel the discomfort of somebody else's upset affecting your energy, right?
Yep.
We do some of the craziest things, and I'm now like watching.
That's cool.
We're resonating out of each other's field.
Yeah.
So people are thinking, oh my God, we've been great friends or whatever for a long time.
But it's very
true of what's going on in the body, not what's going on the face.
Exactly.
Or is actually resonating people into and out of your life right now. So new people come in, and people that you thought you'd be fast friends or friends with forever might resonate right on out, because the core truth vibration is what's making the decisions for us right now.
Exactly.
Not you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I totally do. Exactly.
All right. So I went off on that one. I was trying to explain it because I'm like, my son taught me this.
No, that makes so much sense.
He even asked me when why are you smiling? I'm like,
and see,
he said, you're pissed off. Why are you smiling? He was just like,
this is part of this whole journey. This is the stripping down now, right? The stripping down, the authentic us showing up, right? That's part of this journey, the authentic us showing up. And now we can't get away with it anymore, right?
Right.
Exactly. Okay, there's your message for today. I hope you've enjoyed our channel conversation. We just kind of get on there and have a conversation, and always are amazed at what comes out. Again, this is along those themes of really converging into the oneness and the wholeness of who we are. And we do that in many different ways. And now you've seen today how we're really working toward balancing the imbalances in all of us so that we can come into complete alignment with ourselves, with our true divine self. So thank you so much for joining me. I'll remind you of my services, purplerainhealing.com, where you can get all kinds of channeled messages as well as distance energy healing. There's a soul journey session where Celeste and I really give you a big picture view of your soul journey, including past lives, present information, and potential future. But we also talk about galactic information that will assist you in even understanding yourself more fully. I offer individual channeled sessions where I get on the phone with you and I have conversation and we get to know each other, but you get a full-on hour of information that will assist you in what you're currently going through. But we also bring in past and future information to help you see where you're at in your journey. I also offer one-on-one mentoring, which I absolutely love. I'm working with so many of you right now, where I help you forward in your spiritual awakening journey. And we meet on a regular basis to discuss what's been going on, how you're handling the changes and the shifts and what's coming up. And I bring information through as a facilitator from your angels and guides to help you understand your journey more fully. So I hope you check out purplerainhealing.com, and I thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next video.